From the gold markets of the Pacific Rim and the Far East comes the guerrilla economist. He clears the fog of economic and geopolitical disinfo. Know the truth, see the trends, understand the players. Protect your future and family. The financial freedom fighter, a rebel with a cause. This worldwide transmission has been brought to you by the Guerrilla Economist, helping the world understand, prepare, and make sound decisions to protect your future and your family. Visit the Guerrilla Economist at roguemoney.net, spelled ROGUEMONEY.net, for additional information and service.
All right, and we are live, E.
And with that being said, the Great One has once again returned to reclaim his throne. It's the one, the only Senior Silverback flying solo with the master of the flux capacitor who's working the airwaves to make sure this broadcast comes out squeaky and crispy clean. You know what? I've been getting a lot of emails last couple of months, and they're like, V, we miss you. V, we miss you, man. I mean, you are, we appreciate all the guests you have on. We love all the shows you do, but man, we need you back. We need the ape to go out there and kill something for us and bring it back to us. Breaking stories once again, bringing the headlines and deciphering the BS that is out there. So back by popular demand, and I've been meaning to do this, it's me. It's moi. It's the Guerrilla Hour. It's every Friday at 4 p.m. It's me solo. The only other time we'll have people on there is if Team Rogue Money comes on. That's it. It's the way it was when I had the original radio show. And I thank CJ for putting together that theme song. Damn, do I miss it. That theme song would get me so amped up, so pumped up. Oh, fantastic. And hats off to my man JP in Scotland who put that together for me years ago. So a lot of things to get through today. A lot of things to discuss. My God, I mean, we got a litany of topics here, Siege. A litany of topics. Where do we begin? I guess...
you take it where you want to go, bro.
Yeah, man. I think what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the let's get into the geopolitical, the geostrategic, okay? Let's get into that first. One of the things that I want people to realize is this, okay? I'm going to talk about the petro-yuan rising, okay? And I want to connect you guys to the petro-yuan rising to the New Silk Road or the One Belt, One Road initiative. I'm going to tie those two things in, and I'm going to tie in the fact what Trump getting the United States out of the Paris Climate Agreement, what that means. I'm going to give you guys an angle, and I'm going to give you guys and I believe wholeheartedly in what my sources have been telling me, and I believe that this is the inside baseball. Nobody else is talking about it because nobody else could bring it like the Guerrilla. Now, here it is. You guys know for many years I've been writing about a petro-yuan. You know for many years we've been talking about it. I've been writing about it. I've been detailing for many who've been reading the articles that I would put up at Rogue Money, who would listen to the shows that I've done back in the radio show days. You would know that I would always talk about there is going to be a shift in the Middle East. I would detail for you that Russia and China are the Sino-Russian nexus, as I have coined them. That they will be the prominent power brokers in the Middle East, and it seemed impossible. When I was speaking about this in 2012 and 2013, it seemed impossible. But now what is impossible is absolutely clear and absolutely relevant for every single person to see. It's no longer some hearsay. It's no longer some circumstantial possibility or some sort of conjecture. It is reality. The Sino-Russian nexus has injected themselves into world politics, and because of the moves they are making geostrategically and geoeconomically, they have shifted paradigms forever. The paradigm that we are living in today is that of the emerging. It is no, I'm not even going to call it emerging, folks. The paradigm that exists today is the multipolar world. It is a world that can never, ever, ever go back to the Western dominated, fraud riddled, criminally insane, unipolar world that we've been living in the last several decades and even the last several centuries. Not going there, not going to happen. It is here. It is reality. The multipolar world, the One Belt, One Road initiative, the new Silk Road, the new Silk Belt, the Eurasian Trade Zone, the Eurasian Economic Union, SCO, AIIB, New Development Bank. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. There is nothing the West could do at this point but look at the outside, but stand on the outside and look in. There's nothing the West could do, but yet the only thing they can do is put out bullshit, is put out absolute BS and tripe using their mainstream media apparatchiks. That is the only thing that they can do. They can do nothing in absolute force to do or to change or to subvert this unstoppable force that has emerged upon this world, and that is nationalism and the multipolar reality that we're living in. There is nothing they can do to stop that. So what they will do is try to control the mediums, try to control the thoughts, the perceptions upon who? The world population? Absolutely not. There are very few people watching mainstream media outlets within their own nations, and let alone the rest of the world. So this is to control whoever idiot, brain-dead fools and to mitigate perception and to manage perception, because the reality is here, folks. Okay, the reality is here. And that is the one thing that people need to understand. So I've been detailing, again, since 2013, that we are going to get into the multipolar world, that China and Russia will have a stronghold and a foothold in the Middle East, and boom, we are here. We are here, okay? And I've been saying forever, right, that since 2014, the initiative for the world is de-dollarize or die. And that is why you're seeing the massive, and I don't care what the spot price on gold is. I don't care what the spot price on silver is. Sovereigns and institutional investors are buying it at a rapid clip. It has not stopped. The appetite for the yellow metal has increased all the more. And the fact that digital cryptocurrencies are through the roof, are absolutely being gobbled up. And the fact of the matter is this. Look, I sat down, I was speaking, I was talking with one of my business partners at a Starbucks today in New York, and I was just saying to him, and we were talking about this newfound frontier in digital cryptocurrencies. And we're sitting there and we're talking. And we're saying to ourselves, you know what? This is the ground floor level. This is the not even the infancy stage of cryptocurrencies. We don't know where it's going to go. Nobody does. Anybody who says to you that, hey, they know exactly where cryptocurrencies are going to go doesn't know what they're talking about. And what I mean by that is this. This is so early. I don't think, and I'm going to make a very bold statement here, I don't think there's no one out there who's a quote-unquote an absolute expert in crypto. The reason why I say that, cryptocurrencies are, 5 years old? It's so early in the game. It's so early in the game. But one thing is for sure, the adaptation rate, the adoption rate for cryptocurrencies is something we've never seen before since the advent of fiat currency. We've never seen these types of valuation. We've never seen this type of escalation in the usage and the utility of cryptocurrency. We've never seen that. And these are the things that are fueling de-dollarization. These are the things that are fueling decentralization. Those governments and those nations that understand this, okay, that are supporting this, that want this to occur, okay, these are the nations that will benefit greatly from it. The only ones that are going to get hurt severely is the Anglo-American power structure, okay? Now, Petro Yuan, how does this tie in? And how does this tie into the Paris Climate Accords? Okay. China is currently modifying the terms of its oil trade with Saudi Arabia. Now, I told you guys from get-go, I was one of the few guys in the world out there. You count on one hand how many guys are out there talking about Saudi Arabia is running low on oil. Okay, you count on one hand. All right. Now, China's working on a deal to pay for Saudi oil using Chinese yuan. The effort poses a direct threat to the petrodollar. When the China-Saudi deal happens, not if, but when the China-Saudi deal happens, the yuan for gold is another step closer to the grave for the petrodollar. Okay? And the petrodollar has dominated global finance, I say, since 1971. Many people have written massive articles about this. But we're seeing, and I've said this so many times, I'm the guy who coined the term, that American dreams are built on Saudi pipelines. American dreams are built on Saudi pipelines. When the Saudi pipelines are pumping 90% water and 10% oil, then you got a problem. Your dream is about over. Trump going to Saudi Arabia to give him a weapons deal brings back certain dollars back into this country that allows them to recycle it into various other infrastructure projects, this, that, and the other. Saudi Arabia knows that it cannot maintain a petrodollar. It's running out of oil. There's no petro for the dollar left. So what Saudi Arabia needs to do is what they've been trying to do, which is their little spelunking adventures in Yemen. That's why they're in Yemen, because they need a deep water port, because they want to get into LNG. China knows this. China's ready to help them with this. And you're seeing the emergence of the petro yuan, that a lot of the energy deals, not only in LNG, but also in oil, in OPEC. China is using Saudi Arabia as the Trojan horse to inject itself as the price settlement, okay, as the absolute currency settlement, the yuan being the currency settlement for OPEC. It is crowbarring the dollar out of the equation, and those nations that are in OPEC know the dollar is done. They know it can no longer, the United States dollar cannot sustain the burden of world reserve currency and petrodollar. It just simply cannot do it. So China's inserting itself. And they're doing this for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're doing it in order to shiv the petro yuan into a gold trade settlement note, which many talking heads, many pundits have been discussing. I've been detailing it. Guys like Jim Willie, London Paul, a few other characters have been talking about this for quite some time, which is gold as a trade settlement note. Okay? That's the global play here. That is why the AIIB was set up. That is why the NDB is set up. That is why the New Silk Road exists. It exists primarily for that. This is the decentralized future. This is the new globalism. The globalism that's been put out by the West is bankrupt. The globalism put out by the West is absolutely devoid of solutions for the populations of these nations that are participating in it. It only enriches those that are at the top. So this game here is being played. The dollar's dying. The West is about to have the rug pulled from underneath it. And what does this have to do with China? Okay, what does it have to do? I want you to think about this for a second, guys. If this was 30, 40 years ago, if somebody challenged the petrodollar, we would go to war with them. Saddam Hussein challenged the petrodollar. What happened? We took him out. Gaddafi challenged the petrodollar. What happened? We took him out. Anyone who challenges the petrodollar is taken out. China challenges the petrodollar, and notice we're not doing anything. Not only can we not do anything, but we know the game is over. There's nothing we can do. The handwriting is on the wall. Mene, mene, tekel, farsin, which is the Babylonian meaning, you have been laid to the scales and have been found wanting. That is what the petrodollar has become. Trump knows this. Sources have told me this is a reality that Trump knows. He knows the economy is phony baloney. There's a bubble in it. He knows this economy has to go. It has to crash. It has to be purged. Okay? And to understand the bigger picture, a real bird's eye view of why Trump pulled out of the Paris climate deal, here it is. I'm going to give it to you. And no one else is talking about this, and you're only going to hear it here. In order for the U.S. to survive, it cannot be further deindustrialized or prevented from being reindustrialized. The Paris Climate Agreement will put, if we would have stayed in there, it would have put an unneeded shackles on U.S. industry, on U.S. economic growth, on U.S. economic vitality. I mean, from every aspect, money velocity, liquidity, you name it. The Paris Climate Agreement will prevent the United States from bargaining from a position of power when it goes through an economic collapse. Now, I want you guys to chew on that for a minute or so. Let it swirl around in your brain and think very deeply upon it. I will say it again. To understand the bigger picture of why Trump pulled out of the Paris climate deal, you have to understand, in order for the U.S. to survive as a nation, because you and I know this phony baloney jabroni economy cannot last. It simply cannot last. It's going to overheat. It's going to collapse. In order for that to survive on the other end of it, it cannot undergo further deindustrialization. The United States, cannot be further deindustrialized. It is absolutely damaging and it cannot be allowed to happen. Or the United States cannot be prevented from being reindustrialized, having its economies revitalized, its manufacturing brought back from the dead. So in order for that to occur, Trump had to kill the Paris Climate Agreement. He had to kill it because the Paris Climate Agreement has nothing to do with climate. It has nothing to do with the environment. The PCA, as I like to call it, is a resource strip mining program. It is an economic wealth extraction scheme hooked up by multinational corporations, large multinational banks, the oil industry, Wall Street, and the City of London. The Paris Climate Agreement, I'm going to get that into your head one more time, is a resource strip mining program. It is designed so that it will purposely end economies. It is a cyanide pill that crushes nations. It is expressly and scientifically designed to erode human development. It is the worst form of tyrannical, satanic control you could ever imagine. Has nothing to do. The Paris Climate Agreement has as much to do with climate as the TPP did with trade. It is a strip mining program. It is designed, look at Greece. Look at the nations in the Eurozone where they are in total freefall, in total collapse. And what is happening? Their resources are being strip mined. Their bridges and tunnels and roads and infrastructure and utilities are being sold off to multinationals for pennies on the dollar. That is what they were hoping for the United States when they were hoping the war goddess, the see you next Tuesday, called Hillary Clinton, would have gotten elected. They were hoping that she would have been elected and she would be the one who will chop up and sell the Titanic piecemeal. After all, she is the character. You pay the price, you make a donation, and she makes it nice. You pay the price to her foundation, and all is hunky-dory. All is well. And that is what they were hoping for. The monkey wrench of that entire scheme was Trump. Now, I've been mad at Donald. You've been following me for a while. There's some things about that Donald Trump has did that's pissed me off, and we called him out on it. CJ did, I did, the whole team, Rogue Money did. When he does good, we're going to give him a pat on the back. When he does bad, we're going to hold his feet to the fire. That's just the way it is. But never once have I said this guy's a globalist stooge. Never once have I said this guy's cabal, because I tell you right now, every single source close to the power structures that I know of has said this guy came out of left field. They were not expecting him. He was not planned. He was not part of the agenda. So pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement is very vital. Because in a collapse, an unseen and unelected bureaucracy would have taken over the United States and stripped us to nothing and then put us under some sort of global governance. Being out of the Paris Climate Agreement ensures we can rebuild and integrate from a position of strength. And we can come to the bargaining table with the Chinese, with the Russians, with the One Belt, One Road initiative, and we can leverage our talents, our resources, our skills in mutually beneficial trade, which we will never see if America's gonads were still in the vice of the Paris Climate Agreement. Folks, all the PCA is, it is a technocratic brainchild. It is a technocratic power play cooked up by guys like Zbigniew Brzezinski. And that technocratic power play is something that Trump just decapitated. The petro yuan, like I said before, will eventually give way to a gold trade settlement note. Trump has been there to the EU. It's pretty funny just to watch this. He's laid down the law to these NATO hacks. He's told them, listen, you jabronis, you guys are going to have to pay your share. You're going to have to carry your own weight. And then you're going to have to stop this ridiculous Russophobia. At the same time, Putin is working the other angle. And it's funny. Putin, his biggest opponent was Zbigniew Brzezinski. And I'd like to thank God Almighty that Ziggy Boy is roasting in hell comfortably somewhere in one of the 36 chambers of hell. He is in Hades, and Ziggy, I hope you're being roasted on a spit. The era of Zbigniew Brzezinski, the American diplomat, strategist, former national security advisor, could be called the qualifying round ahead of the grand geopolitical chess championship that has just begun. Zbigniew Brzezinski's passing prompted some observers to assume that the era of the grand chess game has come to an end. However, others believe that it's just transferred. You see, in every step of the way, the technocrats led by Zbigniew Brzezinski, the Trilateral Commission, the Club of Rome, they've been outplayed. They've been outmuscled. They've been outgamed by guys like Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. These globalist kleptocrats have been absolutely outed. It's amazing. Let me tell you something, guys. That is why after Ziggy's death, what has happened? Right after Ziggy died, what happened? Maricon Macron has come forward and says, it is impossible. I mean, Macron met with Putin, and what did he say? It's impossible to get anything done in this world without Russia. Correct. Trump knows this. And he knows that without cooperation with Russia, both the U.S. and Europe, and the West and the European, Eastern Europe will suffer. And you can't allow that. You have to get along. You have to be involved in mutually beneficial trade. And I love it that while Donald is hitting Europe, which is basically the last bastion on this planet of Rothschild and Rockefeller stronghold. This is the last stronghold. It's their battle of the bulge, so to speak. Donald's hitting it from one side. Putin's hitting it from the other side. It's like a pincer maneuver. And Putin, it's hilarious to me that he was trolling. He was trolling, folks, a lot of the Western press, because the Western press, they're freaking out because, Trump pulled out of the climate change policy. And what did Putin say? Don't worry, be happy. He said this. He said, the panic, and there he is. He's speaking to the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, which is the who's who of movers and shakers in the world are meeting there. Okay? He's saying the panic surrounding Trump's decision has been blown way out of proportion. Nothing that there is still time before the agreement, which was signed in 2015, to go into effect. Having some fun, he says this: the United States has ratified this agreement, as I recall, but we, Russia, have not. We haven't done this because we want to wait until on the rules of allocation of resources and other technical but most important issues are all ironed out. In other ways, he also said, don't worry, be happy. What's the big deal? This is completely being blown out of proportion. Because the leftists and these nitwits who are, again, these guys are no experts in climate. These talking heads, these reactionaries. Oh my God, he pulled out. What an idiot abroad. What a moron. He pulled us out of the Paris Climate Accords. These stupid virtue signaling fools do not understand it. Us being involved in an agreement like that would have been the end of U.S. sovereignty. It would have been the end of your personal freedoms. So I find it hilarious that on one side of Europe, you have Trump putting the squeeze on them. The other side of Europe, you have Vladimir Putin. Somewhere in between are these Rothschild apparatchiks like Macron and Merkel and Rajoy. And they're all sitting there just seething. And there's nothing they could do. There's nothing they could do because let's switch gears here a little bit. Now, CJ and I covered this earlier this morning. The idiot Kathy Lee Griffin. And I'm going to bring this idiot up because it's important. Why is it important? Not because she's important or anything like that. She's of any person of consequence in the grand scheme of things. But I want you to listen to this idiot. And I want you to use her as a type, as a type of litmus test to see where the liberal mind is and the health of the liberal mind today in the United States. I won't even say liberal. Let's just call it leftist, because we really need to really, come down and screw these terms in properly. Let's just look at this crazy nut job. And this is what Kathy Griffin says. She says, there's a bunch of old white guys trying to silence me. Kathy Griffin breaks down in tears, claiming Trump family ruined her life. As her lawyer scoffs at report, Barron was upset over severed head of the video. This woman is such a nut job. She, again, rather than disappearing into obscurity, has decided to go in front of the public. Miss I'm so strong, I'm so feminist is now crying like a little, you know what, in front of the camera, virtue signaling and crying, saying that old white men have ruined her life. Listen to you, washed up little spinster with the dried up ovaries. You have ruined your own life. You miserable wench. You would have been happier married with children. But yet you decide to forego that, and now you're sitting here, I don't even know how old you are. You look like you're 60-something. You look like you're falling apart. You're decrepit looking with your carrot top hairstyle. You're falling to pieces. And you're blaming old white men for ruining your life. You ruined your own life. This is what's happening to the West. And the reason why I bring up this nut job is that she is a symptomatic of the left. Instead of realizing the problem, instead of exiting stage left, no, they want to double down. On the other side, what happens? What happens? Hillary Clinton on the bitching tour. She's so deluded. She's doubling down. The mainstream media, they're doubling down. And back in October, I said specifically, the worst thing these morons can do is double down. This is why the left will not win in 2020. They have no platform. They have no message. The American public, poll after poll after poll after poll, are tired of Russiagate. They are tired of Russian connections. They are tired of empty platitudes and empty rhetoric that leads to nowhere. They're tired of it. And this is all what the left gives you. There's nothing left with them. Nothing. They have no platform. Now here's what a real liberal is doing. Somebody I respect. Tulsi Gabbard. What is Tulsi up to? Tulsi Gabbard is proposing something that's in line with us, something in line with what Harley and the LaRouche PAC have been saying for years, and even something that's in line with what Donald Trump has been saying from his administration. It is time to break up the big banks. Last week, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin indicated that the Trump administration will oppose any common sense legislation to break up the big banks. They'll also support allowing too big to fail banks to continue to gamble with America's hard-earned savings, retirement funds, etc., just like they did before the Great Recession and $700 billion taxpayer bailout. I would not take anything Mnuchin says seriously. He's not the one who calls the shots. We will be having a Glass-Steagall. Trump will be breaking up the banks. Now, the whole entire thing is that Gabbard is going, and she's, there's a lot of other, congressmen and representatives on both sides of the aisle that want to go ahead and end the big banks. And that's going to happen. It's going to happen sooner, and it'll be easier to deal with once we get to the economic day of reckoning, which I believe, folks, is right around the corner. It has to be done. It's the only way to get the wealth out of the hands of, quote-unquote, the bad guys. It's the only way to depopulate, because these idiots in their hubris thought their paper will buy them power. They never thought. I mean, idiots like Mark Zuckerberg, who's worth $9 billion because of Facebook stocks. He's an idiot. Elon Musk, another moron. And people venerate them to pedestal. You put them on a pedestal and put them into godlike statuses. Their day of reckoning is coming. It's going to happen. And when the economy hits that brick wall, then the opportunity will arise to break up the banks. The breaking of the banks will occur when the financial crisis occurs. Glass-Steagall will return. It will be dust off. It will be taken out of the back of the dustbins and put in the forefront of financial regulation. It will be back. But first, this economic day of reckoning has to happen. It has to happen. On to global news. Now, going on with what I've been saying for quite some time, that Trump is not, he's not establishment. I know some people are still, he's an establishment guy, he's controlled by the Vatican, he's controlled by the Masons, he's an Illuminist, blah, 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 with no facts. No facts, no nothing. Here we have the Bilderbergs. They're meeting. And it's been leaked many times that the number one agenda for the Bilderberg group this year is, guess who? Guess what's the number one agenda? You know, typically these a-holes, these wonder monkeys who can't even run a lemonade stand, who can't even do anything right, who've never held a job in their life. They don't know how to create anything. These are either generationally wealthy individuals or they're just a bunch of kleptocratic bureaucrats who are just they're just so used to the status quo. They typically sit around and talk about global warming, global schwarming, climate change, and universal handouts, and all other types of bogus bullcrap, and depopulation agendas, covered and masked as some sort of a vaccine and save the populations of the world type program, which does nothing but kill people. That's what they typically do. So the Bilderberg Group conference is being held less than 30 miles from the White House this year. Isn't that interesting? And the number one subject on the official agenda, folks, this is the official agenda. It's on paper. The number one agenda this year is Donald Trump. Never before, since the Bilderbergers or the Bilderboogers have been invented as a group back in 1954, never before has one man been the primary agenda. Never before has a president, a politician, has been on the agenda. The three-day summit began on Thursday, and at the Westfields Marriott in Chantilly, Virginia, has essentially been transformed into an armed fortress in order to protect the 131 idiots that are attending. But unlike other gatherings of world leaders, the lamestream media won't be telling us what's going on inside, because reporters are banned. Because you can't have that in a kleptocracy. You can't let the population know what these a-holes are scheming. These meetings are designed to be highly secretive. And for many years, you were labeled a conspiracy theorist if you even suggested that the Bilderberger or Build-A-Bear group existed. Thanks to the relentless works of investigative journalists, we know a lot more about them. Now, here's the agenda here, folks. Number one, the Trump administration. Number two, transatlantic relations, options and scenarios. Translated, the Trump administration. Number three, transatlantic defense alliances. Let me translate that for you. The Trump administration. Number four, the direction of the EU. That is, the Trump administration. Number five, can globalization be slowed down? That is, the Trump administration, Putin, and China. Number six, jobs, income, and unrealized expectations. The war on information is number seven. Why is populism growing? That is also Trump. Russia and the international order. That is both Putin, Trump, Xi Jinping. The Near East, that's China. Nuclear proliferation, that's again Russia, China, and Trump. Number 12 on the agenda is China. And number 13 is current events, which is, again, Trump, Putin, and China. Everything on this whole entire thing, all 13 topics, if you were to translate it, is Trump, Putin, Russia, China, New Silk Road, new economic realities. These idiots cannot stop it. This is going to be a bitch fest. This is going to be a bitch fest. They will get together and bitch and whine and complain that their sissy world order has never, ever gone to fruition. It's unreal. It's unreal. Why is it happening? Why is populism growing? What's the big deal with all this? How can we stop popularization? How do we stop Trump? How do we do this? How do we do that? I mean, unreal. And they're saying humanity is facing lots of threats. Of course they are. No, humanity's not facing any threats. You, globalists, are facing the threats. You globalists haven't woken up to the reality of what's going on. And in the midst of this, the failure of globalization and all the stupidity that globalization brings, you have idiots like Germany and Merkel that want to pass mandatory vaccinations with fines of up to $2,800 for non-compliance. This is the type of hellhole that the United States is saving itself out of. This is the type of hellhole where crazy ideas by kleptocrats and bureaucrats who've never worked a real job, never created anything, never created anything. This is the type of stuff they roll out. And since we're on the topic of Germany, here's one of my favorite banks. Actually, my favorite bank, Deutsche Bank. After months and months of smoking guns and conspiracy theories, it is now admitted. Give me 1 second, guys. I got a cough. I had to clear my throat. Excuse me. Allergies in New York. All right, I don't want to cough into the mic. I feel like Hillary Clinton at this point. That's what happens when I start talking about her. Anyway, Deutsche Bank. One of the traders of Deutsche Bank, David Liu, pleaded guilty in a federal court in Chicago to conspiring to spoof gold, silver, platinum, and palladium futures. According to court papers, Bloomberg notes that spoofing involves traders placing orders that they never intend to fill in an attempt to manipulate the price. It's illegal. Between in or around December 2009 and February 2012, in the Northern District of Illinois, Eastern Division, defendant David Liu did knowingly and intentionally conspire and agree with other precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, palladium traders to A, knowingly execute and attempt to execute a scheme and artifice to defraud, and for obtaining money and property by means of materially false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, and promises. And in furtherance of the scheme to artifice to defraud, knowingly transmit and cause to be transmitted in interstate and foreign commerce by means of wire communications, certain signs, signals, and sounds in violation of Title 18 U.S. State Code, section blah, 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 blah. The defendant, Liu's employer, was the largest global banking financial services company, is one of them, largest in the world. It's Deutsche Bank. So here's David Liu, caught red-handed with his pants down. And it's not the first time Deutsche has been caught in manipulating precious metals prices. Not the first time. But what is funny about this, and we know about, Deutsche throwing out, Scotiabank, their name under the bus, and HSBC and Standard Chartered. And all these other companies. The fact of the matter is that everybody's throwing David Liu under the bus. What about John Cryan? What about the CEO of Deutsche Bank? When does he go to jail? I'm tired of seeing these small guys. You think David Liu said, "Hey, you know what? I have this great idea. I'm gonna do an illegal thing that could land me in jail called spoofing. That I could go ahead and create orders that I never intend to fill. That I could put out extenuous amounts of paper contracts with no buyers on the other end. I could just go ahead and short the market in naked shorts. Everything that could land me in prison. Let me go ahead and do that without the blessings of upper management." Do you think for 1 second that this guy was able to pull that off? Do you think for 1 minute that David Liu could simply go ahead and do this without upper management? Now, when my buddy Brad Birkenfeld was on the show, and Brad's going to be back in New York in September, so we're going to interview him again. We're probably going to do a book signing. So if you're in New York, we're going to probably be in New York City. If it all works out, we'll probably be at the YouTube headquarters down in New York City. We're going to be doing a live book signing with Brad Birkenfeld September the 4th. So put that on your calendar. I'll be there. Brad will be there. It will be awesome. Okay, he'll have free copies of Lucifer's Banker to hand out, which details the entire thing. Okay? When Brad went out to go ahead and manipulate all these stocks, all these, short positions in various equities, he was given the blessing of upper management. And then when upper management gets in trouble, or when spotlight becomes on the bank, upper management pulls back and says, "Oh, it's the lone trader theory." When the algos go crazy, it's some trader with a fat finger trade, and that's what caused the market to crash. So David Liu, who pleaded guilty in a federal court in Chicago on behalf of Deutsche Bank, was following orders. He became the financial lone gunman. And Deutsche Bank says, "We don't know how this happened. These are traders. They created their own little trading group. They decided to go ahead and rig the markets themselves." No, they didn't. They were told to do this, and they were promised by Deutsche Bank that, "Hey, guys, go ahead and spoof the market. Go ahead and create orders you never intend to fill. Go ahead and do your naked shorts. Don't worry, guys. We got you covered. We'll cover your back. Go for it." And David Liu and all the other traders that are just like him, in full confidence, went ahead and did just that. And when the heat comes on the bank because some of these orders, some of these trades look really questionable and fishy, all of a sudden it's the trader. Oh, it's the lone trader, David Liu. He did it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And of course, here's the funny thing. David Liu goes to prison. All of these spoof orders, all these executions, all these primary orders, all of these shorts, illegal shorts, naked shorts, all of it. All of that going down. The funniest, most ironic thing in this whole entire thing here, folks, is this. Deutsche Bank declined to comment. When questioned about this, Deutsche Bank declined to comment. You know, the time that these guys continue to play the market, the time that these guys continue to try and get away from these things, the time that the laws start catching up to these guys is soon at hand. This is what I'm telling you. We cannot have any sort of real change. We cannot have a change in banking. We cannot have a new banking resolution like, Glass-Steagall come back until there's a financial collapse. And when there is a financial collapse, it will be institutions like Deutsche Bank, like JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, the big four, that will finally go bust. And then we could chop them up, and they'll lose their power, and we'll bring back normalcy into the market, because right now there's no mark to market. There's no correct pricing for any stock in any exchange, in any index, period. Period. You have distortions. You have all sorts of asset distortions everywhere. I'm telling you. People always ask me, is there going to be an economic collapse this year? No, I really don't see anything happening this year. Maybe next year. I'm not sure. I don't know how long at this point the game's is going to play out. I'm not going to set any dates by it. I knew, before I even knew that Trump was going to get in, it really looked like by the end of 2017, it's going to be the kibosh. Because that's what it looked like. It looked like another globalist was going to be a president. The game's changed, folks. The paradigm's different. You need to understand that. You need to understand that nobody, no one group, I don't care if you want to call them the Illuminatis, the Masons, the Zionists, the aliens, the Palladians, the secret cabal of Sasquatch who run the world, whatever you want to call them, insert name here. No one human group has total control of the world. If you believe that, then you just might as well stop living. The reason why they don't have control is because they're human. They're fallible, incredibly fallible. And in the past, they got away with so much of their crap because there was no light of information. The internet has changed the game. And the internet, folks, and I've said this here first, the internet, I said this a while ago, a long while ago, in fact, is going to get decentralized because that's the trend. Right now, I've heard of the launch of the first decentralized web browser. Everything is getting decentralized, and it's freaking them out. It's freaking the crap out of these globalists and these control freaks. Because the psycho nerds no longer have control of anything anymore. The control freaks no longer have control. They've lost the narrative, folks. I keep telling you guys that. They've lost the narrative. There's nothing left here for them. And now the decentralization train is going to be steamrolling every single one of them. Every single one. It is a new day. It is a new dawn. It's time for those who've been living in fear. You've been in the basement eating cat food, waiting for the SWAT team to come kick down the door. I urge you to take that can of whiskas, lay it aside, come out of your bunker, and join the rest of the awakened masses. It's time for you guys to be epic. Absolutely epic. There's so many opportunities out there. So many things that are happening. So many wonderful things. Carpe diem, seize the day. With that, I pretty much covered the litany of topics that I wanted to cover. And it felt good. It felt real good. It's good to be back. And it's only going to get better. That I promise you guys. It's only going to get better. So keep it tuned here. Again, follow us on Twitter at The Rogue Money. Check us out on roguemoney.net. Also, the Rogue Money Facebook page, Rogue Money Apple News, Rogue Money on podcasts, as well as with iTunes, as well as the Google Play Store. And also check out our sponsors, guys. We have moved tremendous amounts of people already from getting their credit repaired to getting the funding. It is tremendous. Take the money, go forth, change your lives, impact your families and your neighbors for the betterment of everything. I mean, there are people who have taken the funding money and are thinking about starting their own Bitcoin exchanges. There are people that are taking their funding. I mean, this is one of the coolest things, CJ, and I'll share this with you. I was speaking to a lady, bro, and I need to share this with Dex as well. And this is what I talk about. You know, taking charge of one's life. Talking to a wonderful woman. Her husband was laid off lost his job 8 months ago. And they have children. I think they have 2 or 3 kids. You know how she was able to pay for the bills? She heard me and Dex talk on the Tuesday's Trading Terror Dome. And she learned how to trade. She became a day trader. And that is how she was able to pay her mortgage and put food on the table month after month after month, rather than working a ridiculous part-time job or a full-time job somewhere else. She learned how to trade. She's able to provide for her family. Now she's going through us at myfreedomnow.us, getting her credit cleaned up. And I said, how much money do you need? Well, I'd like to have anywhere between $500,000 to $600,000. I said, all right, no problem. We can get that for you. And I said, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to take that. I'm going to invest it. I'm going to use that for more trades. I'm like, wow. That's initiative. That's initiative. That's determination. Grasp that. Get that. Do it. Get it done. There's nothing stopping any one of y'all. Just put the cat food down. Come out of your bunkers. Go forth and be epic. With that being said, this is V, the Gorilla. And I'm over and I'm out.